viewers and learners, welcome to this session on corporate and office hazards, and we will deal with ergonomic and psychological hazards that are faced by the workers and the people in the offices. This forms a part of the course MEV 002 Environmental and Occupational Hazards. I introduce myself as Dr. Sushmita Bhaskar, working in the discipline of Environmental Studies at the School of Interdisciplinary and Transdisciplinary Studies, Indira Gandhi National Open University, New Delhi. So the people and all of us, like we all work in the corporate sector, we work in offices, so there can be hazards related to the, for example, the ergonomic, like the muscle pain, the back pain, the neck pain, even the hands and the wrist can be affected. And also psychological hazards due to stress are also faced by many of the people. So now let us see this in detail in this module. First, the learning objectives. After listening to and reading this module, you will be able to explain the various ergonomic and psychological hazards that are faced in the corporate sector and in the offices. Now, if you see this building, all the office constructions, whether it is modern or whether conventional, right now they all have the air conditioned systems. The ventilation sometimes may be proper, may not be alright. In some cases there is overcrowding in the offices. So there are too many people placed in one cabin or in one room, and the lighting may be insufficient, the space may be insufficient, and all this actually leads to certain kinds of hazards. There may be even indoor pollutants or airborne particulate matter that can irritate and give certain health hazards. In the same way, the office constructions, normally you need to have a building, whenever it is constructed, you need to have a 60 to 40% wall is to window ratio. That gives sufficient cooling also for the building and sufficient warming during the winter months, and there is sufficient amount of light also, that is a required amount of light that is entering a building. Now when you have offices like this which is made full of glass, and especially India, our country, it is a tropical country, and we have the solar heat and the sunlight throughout the year, and this will actually give rise to more heat in the offices. That will again lead to using your air conditions for longer, that is you need to cool your buildings and offices for longer time, and that is also not very good for the human system. So like recurrently if you keep warming and cooling your system, it is not good for the system. Now in the same way, crowding in the offices, there are bays that is categorized as 1 bay, 2 bay or the 3 bay cabins, and if it's just a 1 bay cabin and if 4 or 5 of them are seated over there, for example the office assistants and the technical people, in sometimes even the faculty, because of the stress and no availability of space, we are forced to work together in one cabin. In this case again you may be spreading infectious diseases and infections from one to another, because there can be biological agents that are going around, and then cleanliness and sanitation also plays an important role. So these are some of the hazards that are faced when there is overcrowding in the office cabins. Then the computers and technology. Now when you sit in front of the computers or use any technological gadget, for example, you are spending long hours sitting in front of the screen. Now do you think that that will cause good, or do you think that that will give rise to some bad health effect on yourself? So yes, true, it does give you some effect on the eyes, on your neck. You can have eye strain, and sometimes everything will appear dizzy and like muddled on the screen. That is because the eye muscles are getting weaker, and they are not able to face so much of light that is entering the eye. So maybe the lighting needs to be alright, you need to dim or lower or increase the intensity of light accordingly, how much you require. And long sitting hours also we need to refrain from such hours. You need to take certain break. If like sometime you are sitting in front of the screen, then you need to go around, you need to do some other work and so on. So this will reduce the stress of this computer strain on the eye and on the human body. Then stress and peer pressure. So there is a lot of stress and pressure from your peer or from the boss, from your supervisors, all this to perform better, so that the company or the output is better for the organization. So we tend to work hard, and that again gives stress. It can increase the blood pressure, it can give rise to higher sugar levels and diabetes and so on. So all these are certain hazards that are faced in the office sector. and the effects may take a long time. It depends upon the number of hours that a person spends in the office hours, and that can in the long term the exposure can lead to certain types of diseases. Now let us now explain each and every point one by one. So hazards of working long hours in front of the computers. Now positioning of a computer and its related hardware, this can be very important and it can influence posture. For example, if your computer screen is high up and you look up, then again you are straining your neck muscles. In the same way, if it is low, then again you are trying to look down. So the monitor should be positioned directly in front of the user, and that should be at an arm's length away, because even when your arm is far away from the keyboard or from the mouse, and then again you will have certain problems with the wrist and with the hand, you can get frozen shoulders and so on. The same way, the eye level also should be correct with your computer screen as well as your eye level. All this will reduce the hazards when you are working for long hours in front of the system. Then again, eye strain. When you are staring at the screen for long hours, you can get certain blurry images. You can see that the screen appears muddled and blurry, and in some cases your eyes may be sensitive, like some of you may be wearing spectacles, and some of them may also be facing from the near vision as well as the far-sighted vision. So in that case, progressive lens and all that is used, and the eye muscles are put to strain. And post-operative also, the people need to work less on the systems, because even cataracts and all that are developing at a very young age, only because of overexposure to such kind of radiations from the screen and from the systems. So this can lead to too watery eyes, it can lead to too dry eyes, it can lead to headaches, and it can also lead to a sore neck. The next problem that is faced when you are looking at the computer or working on the systems includes hand pain. So you need to type out certain things on the screen so that you can make your work known, or you're typing your work. So typing is a repetitive action, and that is putting pressure on all your fingers, on the on your hands, on the wrist, everywhere. And suppose you are forcing yourself, it also depends on your on the keyboard, whether the keyboard is soft to touch, whether it is hard, because different companies have different keyboards, and according to your comfort, according to your fingers, you can use the type of keyboard that is convenient for you. But the long time and long periods of time, if you are going to use this, again it can lead to disabling pain, and repetitively if you are straining yourself, it can give rise to strain, injuries, sprain, and also the tissues surrounding the joints, they can become inflamed. Then stress fractures can also develop. These stress fractures are also known as hairline fractures, and they can be diagnosed only by an X-ray. So this is hand pain that is related to the long hours of spending on the system. Then wrist injuries. So the wrist is also, it's a very vulnerable part of the human body, and they are also caused due to repetitive typing, and the posture plays a very important role, like how you keep your hand on a mouse pad, and you can reduce it by giving a little bit of rest to your hands, doing some acupuncture techniques, or even pressing the pressure points in your hand. This will give some relief in between, like when you take a 10-minute break from the system. And also the wrist should be kept in a relaxed and natural position, and not keeping that in a stressed or in a strained position. So the basically all these ergonomic hazards happen only when the posture and when your hands or when your whole body is not treated comfortably the way they have to be. Then for the wrist alone, the gel wrist supports and also the foam wrist supports are available, and they can provide extra protection. And nowadays the mouse, the computer mouse pad, if you have seen, and that also near the wrist there is a kind of a gel pad where that rests, and then the mouse is kept at a lower place. So that way it gives you the reduced pressure on the wrist. Then mouse pads with gel are available, as I said now, and they should be used as much as possible. So these are ways where we can reduce the hazards from the wrist injuries in the office sector. Control measures for the same. So regular break will assist to relieve the muscle fatigue for the eye strain, and we can also restore the level of concentration. Then a number of computer applications are available for installation, and that will provide the users certain reminders, and also we can also take certain rest breaks. So in this way we can help ourselves relieve from the stress. Now there is also an increased risk of developing muscle discomfort in the upper limbs when performing the prolonged keyboard operation in extended forearm position. So the entire arm actually can be put into stress, either the right or the left arm, whichever you use, and this discomfort can also arise from the contact stress against the edges of the work surface. So that is why even the office tables have to be ergonomically designed, and the height of the table also matters, and the height of a person also is important for the table height to be adjusted. So we in the markets, the adjustable table and also the adjustable chairs are available. All this can be designed, and you can design sustainably and work with comfort. That way that will put reduced pressure on the back or on the hand or on the wrist, and you can work comfortably. The same way, workstation and the chair with poor ergonomic design, and if you are seated for prolonged time, like if your job involves sitting for 4 hours, for 5 hours with in a stretch and working continuously, then you can again develop low back pain, you can have muscle pain in the lower limbs and so on. So these are all the health hazards that are faced by the people. Now severe consequences that can result in the carpal tunnel syndrome, we will see in the following slides what this means, tendonitis and also tenosynovitis. So these are all certain syndromes that occur only due to the wrong posture, and the ergonomic design should be in place. Office ergonomics, I already discussed about the chair. So this one involves that a comfortable workspace can help the worker feel their best. So proper office ergonomics involves the correct chair height, adequate equipment spacing, good desk posture, and this will help the body and the joints stay comfortable when at work. And the worker should also pay attention to the sitting work area and follow certain rules. And again, you need to declutter your table, declutter your entire working area, so that will also help you to work in a better and friendly environment. Now coming on to specifically the chair, everyone's height and the body, the structure will be different. Body metabolism is also different. So in some cases, people may need a chair which needs a cushion or a support for their back, for their thighs, or for other parts of their body, so that they don't have any pain. So you need to choose a chair that is supporting your spinal nerves, sciatic nerves and so on. Adjust the height of the chair so that your feet also can flatly rest on the floor, and in case your feet are touching the floor, or you're too tall, in that case you can even have certain footrest so that the feet and the legs are also not put on pressure. The same way, the thighs also should be parallel to the floor. Like too long when you're knotting your knees, or when you're folding your knees, putting them one on top of the other, this can also stress one leg, and it can give rise to like varicose veins, obesity and so on, when you're stationed for a long time in your seats. Then again, you need to adjust your arm rest so that your arms are gently resting on them with your shoulders on a relaxed position. So these are some ergonomic posture notes that you need to take down while working in the office sector. Now key objects. Objects like your telephone, your stapler or any other stationary materials, your printed material, you need not keep them very close to your body, but you can spread them out on the table, and again you can keep them at a distance where you can actually reach them safely. Then you need to stand up to reach anything that can't be comfortably reached. Like while sitting, some people tend to reach out for something, when if for example they may be having certain cabinets and cupboards placed behind or near them, and while sitting on the chair, you bend and take out some file, or you're on the telephone, you're speaking to someone on the telephone and you're bending, taking out a file. The same way you try to reach out for something that is far away from where you are seated. That case again you can get sudden sprains, slip disc and so on. So you need to stand up, get up comfortably and then take the file and then sit down in the same position. Now telephone. Some people have a habit of talking for long on the telephone. In that case, one is a radiation is a problem and another is a hand also. When you're keeping like this for 40 minutes, for 30 minutes, your hand aches, your elbows can be affected. Again, the wrist and your the entire palm area can get swollen sometimes, and there is pain. So in that case, you can even connect your phone to speakers and keep the speakers on. You can also have certain audio devices or even the wire phone or the wireless buds that you get these days. You can have all that and then use the phone rather than keeping the phone and giving reduced pressure on your hand as well as on your ears. So these are some things that you can always follow in your office to reduce the hazards from these office hazards. Keyboard and the mouse. Now the mouse should be kept within an easy reach, not very far from you, so that your hands are in a distended position. In the same way, the keyboard also should be comfortably placed. While typing, you need to keep your wrist straight and your upper arm should be close to your body so that they are at rest. And then again your hands is at least it should be below the level of your elbows. Then you need to use the keyboard shortcuts you can use if you know, so that the extended mouse use also can be reduced. Then the sensitivity of the mouse, this also can be adjusted so that even a light touch is enough for it to be operated, because sometimes for the mouse, if you see, there is just a left click and a right click and you just roll in between. So it is a finger that you are using to right or left click. So constantly if one finger is put to use for too long, then you can have that the just one finger alone will be stressed, strained, and you can have certain health problems as you age. Maybe in the younger generation it may be less, but then as we age over the year of 40 and 45, then you will see that this joint and muscle pain start increasing due to various other reasons also. So you need to alternate the hand also. If you can, you operate the mouse both ways, or you can also use a laptop inbuilt mouse itself. All this can reduce certain problems regarding to the hazards from the keyboard and the mouse. Footrest. This was discussed earlier, that if your chair is too high or if you are too tall and the chair it is high or it cannot be adjustable, then in that case you need to have the footrest. It could be at an angle or it could be flat. It depends upon what comfort you need. Normally the footrest, the ones that you get at an angle are much better. And nowadays you even get the footrest with certain massage elements in it. So if you can even take out your shoes, you can take out your slippers, and if you keep them, that gives you a massage effect, and that when the foot nerves and the foot cells are kind of activated, then the entire body feels at rest. And these are some principles of acupuncture and the acupressure points. Now here again, if the footrest is not available, sometimes it may not be available. In that case you can use a small stool and that way also you can reduce the stress on your foot and on your legs and thighs, on your calf muscles also. Desk. Now in the many of the offices, especially in the very old and conventional ones, you may find that the tables are not conveniently designed. The chairs also may not have those cushion seats. They may be the old wooden chairs. So if those of you who are not used to sitting on hard surfaces or have certain other problems related to piles or metabolic disorders, then in that case you need cushioned seats. So the cushions can be purchased and then you can make those chairs comfortable. Now in the same way, the tables, they may be the old metal tables or the ones that have sharp edges, that can prick, and they may be rusty. So many problems are there. So you need to rectify these things. But actually when you're if you are designing your office space, and if it is in your control, when you are working for long hours, then getting a table which is ergonomically designed will prove fruitful in the long run. So if you see this design, you see that the table is placed diagonally, and there is a wide range, and your chair can actually rotate and you can move from one end to the other, and all your things could be equally and spatially distributed also on the table for convenience. There will be decluttering, and there will not be any confusion of any kind when picking up certain papers or sticky notes and so on. So now under the desk also you need to see that there is decluttering, that your knees, thighs and feet, there is clearance for all this, and if the desk is too low, then we cannot adjust it. Again, your knees can hit the desk. So these things are some things that you need to keep in mind, that the desk is also very important, and normally necessarily we should not store any items under the desk. An office desk which is clear of those cabinets in the desk itself would be better, so that your legs and the body has free space to move about. Coming back again to the monitor adjustment, this figure, it shows you the viewing distance, the viewing angle, then the lumbar support that is required for especially the lower back. You might have seen many of the people, they have the problems and they end up with the orthopedic doctors, and they say that I have a low back pain. So how does this low back pain actually arise? So the monitor should be directly in front of you and arm's length away. The top of the screen also, all this, the angles need to be maintained, and the monitor should be directly behind your keyboard. Then you see the thighs and that alignment, the knees, at what angle and what, again the adjustable height of the chair. These are important things. The wrists have to be straight. So this figure well demonstrates how you need to sit when working in the office, and if you've seen, the legs are also placed on a footrest. This again is another figure where the head is upright and the eyes are looking slightly downward without bending the neck. The wrist is in a neutral and straight position. The thighs are horizontal, you should not put them one on top of the other. The feet are supported well on the ground or as you desire, and the back rest also. Either the chair itself should have the proper spinal curve arrangement, which is supporting the natural curves of the back, or you need to support yourself using certain cushions. You even have the contour cushions these days. The exercises in office, this is very important. So stretching and exercises, this will help the injuries, and it will increase the blood flow. It will allow individuals to change posture, and this will also allow to strengthen and the back muscles and also the abdomen. Now exercises that increase the balance and strength, you can reduce the risk of falling and injuring the back, and also yoga and weight bearing exercise. These are also some important things that could be followed. Now for the healthy adults, the World Health Organization recommends at least 75 minutes a week of vigorous aerobic activity, or 150 minutes a week of moderate aerobic activity. So this should be spread out a week. You can do it maybe twice a week, thrice a week, depending on the time and availability. Now coming on to the psychological hazards, these are also very important hazards that are faced by the people in the offices, and it normally occurs with people who work under stress, develop headache, they have stomach and intestinal disorders, sleeping disorders, it leads to anxiety, depression and so on. And because of high stress, that can lead to high blood pressure, diabetes and also other cardiovascular diseases. Now work related stress, sometimes like you are not able to give the required output, you get frustrated, you start throwing off your files and your papers, because stress is a response that people may be having when they are presented with the work demands and pressures that are not matched to their ability, that are not matched to their knowledge, and they challenge their ability to cope up. And they are also sometimes compared with their peer group, with their friends, and this creates a certain stress. Individual to individual sensitivity also differs and matters. So it occurs in a variety of work circumstances, and pressure is unavoidable in any office environment because the demands of the contemporary work environment is so. Work stress. So the pressure becomes excessive. Now normally if you have seen the technical assistants, the personal assistants, they are all under tremendous stress, like every minute, every second they are recording some event or the other, or they need to arrange for meetings, arrange for conferences, and it is really high pressure. The same with other professions also. So when the pressure becomes excessive and it is unmanageable, then it leads to stress and it can seriously damage an employee's health. Now work related stress, sometimes you have seen in the media reports that people have been working continuously for 24, 48 and 72 hours without taking a break. In that case again, that can lead to a sudden cardiac failure or heart attacks. So work related stress can be caused by poor work organization, by poor work design, poor management, unsatisfactory working conditions and lack of support from the colleagues and the supervisors. Now, the stress related hazards at work, according to the WHO, the they can be these hazards can be divided into the work content and work context. So this depends upon the job content and the workload, the work pace, like how fast or slow you are working. The working hours are important, long, unsociable, is it unpredictable, badly designed shift systems, And then participation and control, like lack of participation in decision making, lack of control over the work processes, and so on. So these are also certain hazards that can give rise to the stress. Now, certain other stress that people come under are the career development, the status, the pay, like job insecurity, then unclear and unfair performance evaluation, maybe being overskilled or underskilled for a job. Then in the organization also, like the roles that you are given, maybe you are too overqualified, you are less qualified, and interpersonal relationships, your PR skills. So all this can also lead to certain stress and psychological hazards. So you can also have certain poor relationships with your colleagues, you can have harassment and violence at the workplace. So that's why the work and life balance, when you need to work, you need to balance your work and family, and the domestic problem should not be taken to work, and the work problem should not come home. So the organizational rules and policies are also very important to support a healthy working environment. Now, we can manage stress by developing healthy responses, then tracking your stressors, and also do exercises and yoga of any form. Then you can establish boundaries, like you need to know when you need to respond to your mail, respond to your mobile or work. Again, you need to avoid bringing the office work home. Then you need to take time to recharge, go for certain vipassana or vacationing with your family, and then doing some hobby, gardening, painting, all these can also be stress relievers. Then you need to relax, taking some time out for meditation, breathing exercises, mindfulness, then participating in certain other discussions with meaningful people in your life. Then talking to your supervisor, like getting the best situations as to how well you can work in for the productivity of yourself as well as to the employer. Finally, you need to get support from your family, from your friends, and being together and being accepted as a part, accepting yourself also, that acceptance should come from within, and inner transformation also comes from within. So that way you can manage your stress better, and professionally as well as personally, that will help you to perform better. So dear learners, this module focused on the ergonomic hazards and the psychological hazards that are faced by the people working in offices and in corporate sectors, and we have given you all the list of the hazards that are faced by them, from the technology and the stress that they can face. And though we feel that the office hazards are relatively less, and it is a very comfortable building where people work compared to the physical labor and other sectors, but still again the office hazards also pose a major threat for millions of people all over the world. And there are certain ways how we can control and take out time for ourselves and relieve ourselves from stress and these hazards. Thank you for your patient listening.